So what we're explaining here is when we come to finish off with the machine at the end of play, what we will actually do. So we'd open the high pressure primed frost valve first of all. So that is open, the pipe coming out the door, so that's letting air into the system. You then got two options, so you can actually use this pipe that we've got here with a Neato 6 quick release coupling, and what you could do is put it onto this point. Now this is the higher point, and open this valve, which would open. Yeah? There. You will see it draining off there at that point. Now if we go and disconnect that now and put that to the back end, that valve is open. We can then connect it up at this point as well. Now this valve is the pump system for the water fed pole system. That's closed off. The tank valve is also closed off at that point there. So we're leaving the water in the tank, and we're going to open these other valves and open all them three valves. It's the same again. You're at the lowest point, the water is draining from the system. So that's open, that one's open, and that one's open. So this is the position you leave yourself in if you want to leave water in the tank. If you wanted to drain the whole lot, what you do is open the tank valve as well, and you drain the whole system. Now you'll see the water level is there at the moment, so it would drain off at that point there. You'd let all the water out of the system and let it all run free. This pipe also is set up for when you're working as well, so you've got the overflow out the door, so if the ball valve, you're working via the ball valve, fails, you can then plug in the pipe at that point while you're working. So that pipe should be coming out of that door when you're filling your tank, and that just goes onto the floor, so if it ever did overflow, it's not going to flood the van, it's just going to come out of the side door. Mains feed setup. So what we're going to do is show you here on the system itself. So at the moment in time I've got Neato 6, but what we have got there on there is also, we've got the hose lock fitting adapter on there as well. So if you come to a fitting that's hose lock, click, we've used a fitting there, Neato 6, and that is classed as a click system. Now that can be put in there and that's bunged off, but you would most of the time come to a fitting that is the Neato 6. That's what I want you to use. I want you to use the Neato 6 that we're giving you with the system to be able to connect in to the customer's tap. You'll see that the bore size is not restricted. So you would pull as much hose off as you need to connect up to the customer's tap at this point. That would go onto the customer's tap. So as we look at it, you would pull it off what you needed. We would then go round, and what we do is connect up the lead hose. So this is the hose that goes to the system itself. So that hose there, as we go around the other side, you'll find that this is the hose that's just been connected up to the hose reel. We've then got 3 points. So if you're wanting a fast fill with no restrictions whatsoever, you'd go to the overflow, tank overflow, and also hydrant point fill. No ball cock inside that system. We then can go to the ball cock system. So this has got the ball cock on. At that stage you would also then connect the overflow hose, which is here, to the tank overflow. So any problems with the ball cock, it's protected and it's going to come out the side door. We've then also got the bottom fill system, where what you do is connect this up at the bottom. We're not using the window cleaning side, so the window cleaning side will be closed off. This valve would be open in this position, that would be open. We'd have the tank valve open as well, and we'd also have this open as well. So we're able to go through the filter system, filling up at the bottom. You could then set So what we're looking at here is the generator itself, setting up and starting up the generator. So you got a generator, always make sure there's plenty of fuel in your petrol. At the top of the system, it's full before you start. You've got the voltage, this is plugged in for the boiler for the 240 volt. You've then got the 110. Now at the back of here, if we look, we'll see a switch. At the moment that switch is in the position of the 240. Always try to leave that alone unless you're moving on to 110. I want to use these 110 volt sockets. At the moment this position here, it's set to work at 240 volt. You've got your switch to turn the generator on at this point. You've then got the choke and the fuel. So the fuel is in the on position and the choke will be in that position. Always make sure that what you've got here is the exhaust gases that are going to come out here into this direction. Make sure that you don't put anything in the way, because that's going to be warm coming out of there. There's going to be a few exhaust fumes coming from that point there. So it's all set up at that position there. So we've got the fuel tank in this position here. Now if you need to, obviously this can be run off kerosene, central heating fluid, or white or red diesel. Now on this system here, this tank here at the moment is set up so it's in there all the time, which can be set up on quick releases so the tank can be taken out if required to at any stage. At the moment it's set up, you've got your taps at the bottom, flow and return. You've also got a fuel level switch, so if that is low on fuel it will stop the burner or the boiler from burning. And like I say, different size tanks and everything else for different jobs and so on, depending on what you're doing. This is a 60 litre fuel upright tank, but as you can see, make sure both your valves are in that position. When you're using it. So what we're doing is setting up the pressure washer here to work on cold, hot. Now obviously we're moving on to steam, we would use a different trigger to what we're putting in place here, but at the moment we're just using it on cold and hot. We'll be showing you. So you've got your two outlets here, you've got your cold and hot here, and you've got your chemicals. So we're going to connect up to the cold and hot side here. So this is the lead hose that screws on. We've then goes up to the hose reel at the top up here at this point here, then taken the hose off that we're needing to take off. It goes to the trigger itself. You would have this valve in the open position to start the machine up. Now this is electric start or pull start, so you've got your pull starter down at the bottom here, and you've also got the battery and the electric start key start down here in this position here as well. Same as the generator, you turn the choke on down the side here. On the side you've got your choke, just exactly the same way around, and your fuel on. So as I look down this side, you'll be able to just see. So that is exactly the same as that. You've got your two knobs exactly the same. So you put your, obviously you make sure your fuel's turned on and the choke on. Turn the machine on by turning the key on the system itself, and this part P will automatically prime the system up. What you've got to remember though is making sure that the valves are all in the correct position. So at the moment in time we've got a tank full of water, so this is in the closed position because we've closed that now, and the valve that's just sat in there behind it is also in the open position, so that's closed. We then make sure that these valves are in the correct position as well. So we're not using the window cleaning setup, so that is closed off. At the moment we're using the tank water, so that at this point this is closed off, and what we're using is the ball cock point. So this goes to the hose reel. These valves, tank valve open, and the other valve down to the back to the front of the machine is also open as well. So we're in a position now that we could start up the engine on the setup itself, to start the engine up and start running and working the machine on cold and hot. When you're working on hot, you can work up to about 100 degrees at full pressure without alternating. Now you've got these controls here, high and low pressure. You only need to use your fingertips. That's all you need to use when you're turning them. You don't need to get hold of them with your hand, just your fingertips only. To close them so they're on high pressure, make sure high, turn it to left, it's low. Same again on this, high and low. You only need to control it really on that. You've also got the engine revs as well that you can turn down to control it on the pressure as well, but you're better off controlling it on that side. The jets that's going in, you've got your turbo nozzle, you've got your patio cleaner, you've got all the nozzles going to the end of the lance at this point here. So you're all set up, you can use it that way. So that is setting the machine up and getting ready to start working on cold and hot. You'll see what I'm saying, why we don't mention steam. We mention that in another video, in another section. So what we're explaining here is the boiler. So on the fuel tank itself, always make sure that we've got a full chemical tank, fuel tank inside there. It's obviously the level switch, like I've explained on the other videos earlier. On the system itself, we've got the Mazzoni boiler system. Make sure your fluid's out at the top. And what we've done for this one, right quick, also showing you how to set up and use the generator and start the generator. We've plugged instead into an extension cord, which you can do if you wanted to. We've got 240 volt available. So if we turn the thermostat to 60 degrees, we turn the boiler on. We then can test it and see what's going on. You'll hear the noise. That's just to test the boiler to make sure everything's working okay. So when we get water running through it, through the pressure water and everything else, that noise will appear as well on the system. So that's just a quick test you can do to make sure your boiler's okay. Turned on, temperature, boiler running, blue light on, press the button, 5 seconds in, you'll hear the boiler start to burn. You know then that everything is okay on there. You can then start the generator and start the pressure washer. You know that everything's ready to run. Like I say, we're going to run this, instead of starting the generator, we're just going to run this off electric cord inside, so we haven't got the noise of that as well. So what we're going to do now is, obviously we've shown the video of how to set up the generator, but what we're doing is plugging straight direct into mains electric for the boiler while we're running. So this is for cold and hot. It's not on for steam at the moment. It's cold and hot is this system. So like I said before, the gun that we're using is this gun here with this lance with the available nozzles that's available, different size. So we've got the pram and frost valve open. The machine on the water has all been shown how to set it up in this position ready. So what we're going to do is, like I said before, we will have the choke on for a split second, turn the key and then knock the choke off. The petrol is on the engine, so we're going to fire it up now. You could use that with a backyaw cleaner and everything else you want to work. So that's high pressure, hot and cold. Now you can control it on the red light, push it down, or if you need to, you can turn it down a little in the better way. And this is to use it for cold and hot. Turn the generator off, the boiler off as well. What? So we've got the steam lance in place here, and like I said before, we can twist it and turn it, that handle, by loosening that handle off, and it can be turned and twisted over for left or right handed people, whichever way you want to go, backwards and forwards on the system. We've got the jet in the end of the nozzle. Now you've got variations of jets there inside this. So when we're working on this system, what we're going to do is get it up to steam very quickly as possible, and wasting loads of water. So what we do is we set the thermostat up at 90 degrees. Not going to turn the boiler on just yet. We're then going to operate it. You've got these valves. So if we turn it that way on these valves, both of them are closed. So we're going to open one valve fully. We'll turn the engine revs down on the engine as well, on this little throttle just down here that you can see. So I'm going to turn the engine revs down slightly. We're then ready to run. So also we've taken all the hose. If you're doing it, you take all the hose off the reel. Now we're just using a 10-metre hose to work on steam. Yeah, so we're not having to take all the hose off the reel to demonstrate it and show it. So we're ready to rock and roll now. So what we'll do is we'll fire the pressure washer up. Like I say, we're off 240 volt, not the generator. Boiler on, set at 90. So we've got very, very low pressure. Now we could turn the engine revs down ever so slightly more until it gets up to 90 degrees. You'll hear the boiler go off when it gets to 90 degrees, so that boiler will stop burning. It's nice and warm. With the moment of control, we've got control set. Everything's running alright. So the boiler's gone off now. What we're going to do is just turn it up to 120. And what we'll do is take control and start turning the pressures back up. So the red knob shortly. Increasing the pressure. Now when we're running this, I want that machine to be running at 145 degrees. And then when it gets to 150, knock off on the boiler. Yeah? So we'll turn that thermostat now, control to 150. Maximum. I want to get it so it's running continuously. So you've got different jet size in the side door. Some of them bigger than the others, some of them different angles. And what we are going to do is also turn the pressure up so it's running continuously. So that's now. So it's doing continuously. The boiler never goes off. It keeps running. Turn the engine revs up. We've got the system, the machine itself is continually doing 145 degrees, 150, 145. So it's a fantastic Softwash Setup. So we'll cool it down now. We'll keep the trigger open and we'll turn it down, right down to cool it down. Once the system itself gets right down, you'll know. So if you set it at 13, the boiler comes back in. You then know that everything's cold. Also remember, make sure this flue is facing outwards. And we're fine to turn it off. Gone on to cold. So what we're explaining here is the Softwash setup. So at the moment in time, same again, I'm just using a 10-metre lead hose that's going onto the chemical resistant gun and onto the nozzle. Now same again, you wouldn't have to pull all the hose off the reel. You would connect the lead hose onto the reel and you would then connect it, switching it over, the bung that was in this side before, switching it to this side and moving this into the chemical side. We would then set the machine up, we turn both these valves fully open. So we're minimising the amount of water we're using and going down gently to start off with. We then turn the engine revs down once the engine's up and running by using the control on the engine there as well. So the engine is only ticking over gently. We've then got the pipes at the back, the chemical, into the back of the van here that we're using. Yeah, so you would use and pull the chemical from that point. We will show you shortly how to measure so you know what you're doing and everything else. So we're all set up and we're ready to rock and roll and go onto the chemical. So like I said before, you can then introduce, if you needed to, the OV8 pole, which we'll show you shortly. So you can put the chemical through the OV8 pole as well. So the OV8 pole, different nozzles at the end, tight swivel elbow and everything else can go into there on that system. So what we'll do in a minute or two is start the machine up and show you how to use it. So we're ready to go in a minute or two, and what we're simply doing is, so we've moved this now, we've put the jet directly straight in to the gun itself, or the jets, whichever. And we've taken the long lance out, and if you want to, you can use the long lance to apply the chemical. So you've got quick release there, and you've got that nozzle that goes straight into the gun. But we're using it short, so distance, pull it back, clip it in. So chemical resistant gun, swivel on there and everything else. Now, like I just said a minute ago, we've moved the bung into this point, taking it from there, and what we're doing is connecting it to the chemical system. We've got both these valves now onto low pressure. We've then got the grey knob at the side that's controlling the chemical amount. So you turn that there anti-clockwise, so it's on maximum. Yeah. Now you'll see that there's numbers on there on the valve itself. Yeah. 4, 5, 6. You would turn that round to the 8 number at the bottom. So we're giving maximum chemical through the system. We'll start the machine up like on the system itself. Close the primer and frost valve. Control that chemical at what ratio you want it to work out, which we'll show you shortly how to do a test, a quick test, very simple, straightforward test. Now, if we want to, there's nothing to stop us from stopping the machine and putting it into the OV8 pole the same way. So instead of having the gun in the system, we'd have an OV8 pole on the system if we needed to. So we've introduced now this is for chemical, so we've introduced the IPO system to the Softwash pole, OV8 pole, and what we've done is put a converter in the end of there that's quick release, so we can put the nozzles in. So if we wanted to, we can take that out, we can put the brush on, we can also put the tight swivel elbow on there, we can also put, if we needed to at any stage, all these other nozzles that's available. Yeah, either high or low pressure with chemical. So what we'll do is demonstrate now and show you how it works. So we'll start the machine back up. All the valves now are all set up on the system itself, and what we've got is this valve set up down here as well. So we'll start the machine up, and all you're doing is put, instead of going through the gun, you're going through the OV8 system. Now if you want to at any stage, what you can do So that is chemical via the OV8 pole system. So what we're doing is I'm going to explain to yourself. So what we're set up for is soft washing. We've got the valve here open at maximum, so we're on maximum chemical system at the moment. Okay, I'm going to do a simple test, straightforward and easy test to do. So the machine's all set up, The engine res will be turned down. These valves themselves will be fully open on the system. And what we've got is two jugs. We've got an empty jug, which is here, and we've got a jug that's got 3 litres in at the moment, as you can see. And what we're going to do is we're going to catch the water from the trigger into this jug, and when it's filled up to 300, it will then tell us exactly how much chemical has been pulled out of there and what's in there, so you can then do the ratio. So say we pulled 1 litre out of there, but this was full of this is then full of 300 litres. We've then got the ratio at 2-to-1 ratios, so we know that the system is pulling through at that ratio, whatever it is. So what we'll do is set the machine up and we'll do the test. I'll do it from a distance so you can see what's going on, so the lads can show it. So if we start the machine up, if one of the lads starts the machine up, one's catching and the other jug is up there full of chemical. And he's going to run it now until that jug is full, right up to the top. Now you can adjust it on that grey knob. If you want it weak, you can do. We've got the other jug up there. As you'll see, it's going down from 300. And we're going to let go of the trigger when we get this to 300.
There's a bit of suds on top, so I'll have to go a little bit above it, if that makes sense.
So we're at 300 in this jug now, and what we've pulled from this jug, as you can see, is 1.5 litres from that jug. So at the moment there we're working at 1-to-1 on the system. So that's pulled through at 1-to-1. And it's as simple as that. So we've caught the water, so we know exactly what amount we're working at. Now if you need to make it weaker, what you'd simply do is you can pick the revs up, you can do anything you want to do to a certain amount to make it go down faster, but you're controlling it on this grey knob here. As you can see, there's a little thing on here which sets it, and you're opening and closing. So just give it another bit more if you think they need it at 2-to-1 or 4-to-1 or whatever. That's a simple test you need to do with 2 jugs. So we're set up now. We set the window cleaner, we've closed the pump off to the pressure washer, and we've opened this up. So what we're going to do is then introduce the pole system with the brush on. We've then got a switch to turn the pole on, set at 99, so it's going to go through the hose reel now. So what we've done is put the lead hose of the hose reel onto the tank here system. What we're able to do is clean down with pure water via the system, so it's all running through and we're connected up. Now we can slow that down and speed it up just by turning and controlling. And that's the system for washing the windows down. It's the same thing again, frost protection on the pump itself, on the filter and everything else. You've got the filter there and the window cleaning setup. What we do is open this valve here, making sure we can put a hose on the end and making sure all them valves, and what's happening, you'll see it's running out of water. We then also take the hose off at the top up there as well, unscrew the hose on the lead hose from the hose reel. The split charger there, that comes in out as the engine's running and everything else, and knocks it on and keep the leisure battery filled up. 128H leisure battery system.